Around a month ago, I visited Universal Studios Japan for the first time in my life, and like most enthusiasts, I was going nutty for Flying Dinosaur. The Flying Dinosaur is a B&M flying coaster. It pretty much gives it up in the name, but yeah. It stands at 150 feet and reaches a top speed of 62 miles per hour. That is the exact same speed as Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which is the other flying coaster that Flying Dinosaur gets compared to the most. There are no slow elements on this ride. You just rip right through the ride course, and the sensation of that is just out of this world. And of course, insane pacing leads to this coaster being very, very forceful on those pretzel loops. Surprisingly though, as mad as those pretzel loops were, they were not my favorite part of this ride. I rode this thing 5 times on my visit at Universal Studios Japan, and what got me coming back over and over again was this ride's pacing. I knew this coaster wasn't messing around at all with the pacing from the first drop. The drop kind of violently rakes you down to the ground. I've ridden Tatsu before, and the drop on Flying Dino is severely better than Tatsu's. From drop to brake run, this ride is whippy, and you're violently getting shoved all over your seat. In a good, enjoyable way, of course. So let's start off this review by discussing the layout element by element. Then we'll get into theming and wait times and all the other good stuff after. Also, please subscribe. A flying coaster's signature move happens even before the coaster leaves the station. The ride flips you into the flying position. This will either freak you out if you're afraid of heights, or you'll find it mesmerizing. When I rode Tatsu back in 2018, I was sweating. I was freaking out. But when I rode Flying Dino in 2021, I found it mesmerizing. So in the flying position, you leave the station and immediately start going up a chain lift hill. This won't sound right on any other coaster besides a flying coaster. But going up that lift hill is terrifying, and is one of the highlights of the whole entire ride. Let me say this, if you put someone on this coaster with a serious fear of heights, you may actually kill them. Flying Dino is not a terrain coaster, meaning that you really do feel super high when you're taking up that lift hill. And this whole experience introduced me to a whole new fear of roller coasters. Because you're in a position where without the restraints you will fall off the ride, I actually had this gut sensation where I felt like I'd just freaking fall, I felt like the restraints would just give up and I would fall off the dang ride. Just to clarify, I am a coaster enthusiast and I know the odds of dying on a coaster is pretty much impossible. This coaster just gives you that illusion, and honestly it was an amazing sensation and it made me scream like a 7-year-old. When you ride a certain amount of coasters, the fear of heights starts to disappear, so I really appreciated this coaster putting the fear right back into me. So moving on from the lift hill, you go into that amazing first drop. I already covered the drop in the video already. It's one of my favorite coaster drops, it's surprisingly powerful and it's super fun. After the drop, you gracefully go into some sort of twist. I'm not sure the exact name of this element, but it's super cool and it doesn't feel like your everyday 0G roll. I was actually pretty surprised how whippy it was. You kind of slam towards the right side of your restraint, so that's pretty cool. My sister's hair was right up in my face. You see a lot of sky and the person next to you on this element. So this twist connects to what is called an inside Raven turn. Honestly, this Raven turn felt nothing like the Raven turn on X2 at Magic Mountain. It felt exactly like a pretzel loop, so I'm just gonna call it a pretzel loop. This element is where you find out that this ride does not mess around. The bottom of this element is like the equivalent of getting slammed into the ground by King Kong. You don't gray out, but the sensation is much crazier than any gray out I've had in my opinion. So after this, you take a quick dip, but then you go into the real pretzel loop. This pretzel loop is equally as intense as the inside Raven turn, but I like the pretzel loop more because of the insane tunnel that it goes through. Remember that King Kong example I made? Well, this is the same thing, except it all happens in a dark tunnel, and this time you hear everybody's screams echo. You go into this element with a lot of speed too. I remember saying holy crap, because I was like, we're seriously gonna do this crazy of an element going this fast. So after the pretzel loop, you go into a small drop, and this is where you kind of process the crazy pretzel loop you just did. Not much forces here, but an important element on this ride either way. Then you go into the airtime hill over the water. It was a small pop, only lasting around a second, but it was a very enjoyable second. Remember, you're going pretty fast, so this helps a lot with the airtime. So followed by the airtime pop is one of the 2 inline twists on this ride. Now the inline twist was not forceful at all. Don't expect like the old famous Maverick inline twist, cause well, first of all, it's made by B&M. Nevertheless, it was a pretty fun element. Then Flying Dinosaur actually does a full 360 helix. Now this all happens right on top of the walking paths of Jurassic Park, and that probably explains all the netting that Jurassic Park has. Then you go into the ride's final element, which is the second inline twist, and it's basically a clone of the first inline twist. Then boom, brake run. Alright guys, so we just covered the whole entire layout of this ride. Now there's the other important things like how long were the wait times. So unless you plan on going to this park during the pandemic, how long I waited will be completely different from how long you'll wait. So basically, I got lucky. COVID-19 is still a thing in Japan, so unlike you vaccinated American folks, Japan still has to have a very limited capacity for their theme parks. So because of the limited capacity, the longest I saw Flying Dinosaur's line was only 30 minutes. Guys, just in case you didn't hear me right, 30 minutes. That's just half an hour. So if you've seen like El Toro or Ryan's Flying Dinosaur videos, then you'll know that Flying Dinosaur actually was at 200 minutes when he went. So Flying Dinosaur is a coaster in a Universal park, so I was going in expecting some pretty good theming. And well, I mean, besides this cool loading station they had themed to a dinosaur cage, there was pretty much nothing. Yeah, Universal was just like, we got the pretzel loops, so who cares? The line was basically just a bunch of zigzags over a shaded area. I find theming to be a very important part of a ride, so that was the only real downside to this ride. So there's no better way to end this review of the Flying Dinosaur than to talk about the channel completely dedicated to the Flying Dinosaur. Alright, let's do it. The Flying Dinosaur wouldn't be the same ride without today's video sponsor. You guessed it, Bruno the Flying Dinosaur. So Bruno is a channel that inspires young kids to name their dogs after roller coasters. Go check out his channel and learn about the coaster Flying Dinosaur and some general flying dinosaurs. He sings better than Bruno Mars. Limited time offer, buy one get one free. Peace.
Oh my gosh, you made it till the end!